Hey guys, my name is Kayla Drummond and I will be discussing Chapter 12, Writing Persuasive Messages. The learning objectives for this chapter will be the application of the three-step writing process of persuasive messages, describing an effective strategy for developing persuasive business messages, and identifying the three most common categories of persuasive business messages. We will also be describing an effective strategy for developing marketing and sales messages and explain how to modify your approach while writing promotional messages for social media. Lastly, we will be identifying the steps you can take to avoid ethical lapses in marketing and sales messages. Next slide. Using the three-step writing process for persuasive messages. Planning persuasive messages. Analyzing the situation, gathering information, selecting the right media, and selecting the right channels, also while organizing your information. Writing persuasive messages, using positive and polite language, understanding and respecting cultural differences, being sensitive to organizational cultures, and taking steps to establish your credibility. Completing persuasive messages. Judge your argument objectively. Don't overestimate your credibility, and make sure your design elements complement your argument. Make sure your distribution methods fit your audience's expectations and preferences. Next slide. Human needs that influence motivation. Basic sociology requirements. Safety and security. Affiliation and belonging. Power and control. Achievement, knowledge, exploration, understanding, self-actualization, and also helping others. All of these needs can help us gauge an audience's wants. Demographics. To understand and categorize needs, you refer to a specific information: age, gender, occupation, income, and education. Psychographics, which include the personality, attitudes, lifestyles, and other psychological characteristics. Next slide. Developing persuasive business messages. Within the context of the three-step process, effective persuasion involves four essential strategies. 1. Framing your arguments. 2. Balancing your emotional and logical appeals. 3. Reinforcing your position, and 4. Anticipating objections. Next slide. Strategy 1, we talk about framing your arguments. Attention. Your first objective is to encourage your audience to want to hear about your problem, idea, or new product, or whatever your main idea is. Be sure to find some common ground on which to build your case. Interest. Provide additional details that prompt audience members to imagine how the solution may benefit them. Desire. Help audience members embrace your idea by explaining how the change will benefit them and answering potential objections. Action. Suggest the specific action you want your audience to take. Include a deadline if applicable. In strategy 2, balancing your emotional and logical appeals. Consider the actions you hope to motivate. Consider your readers' expectations. Consider the degree of resistance you need to overcome. Consider your position in the formal and informal power structure of the organization. Emotional appeals. Emotional appeals call on the audience's feelings and sympathies rather than on facts, figures, and rational arguments. Logical appeals. Calls on reasoning and evidence, and also make a claim based on a rational argument supported by solid evidence, as for an analogy, induction, and deduction. Next slide. Logical versus emotional appeals. Again, I just went in and just really put the emphasis on the difference between the logical and emotional appeals. Again, the logical appeals call on reasoning and evidence and make a claim based on a rational argument supported by solid evidence and based on reason and evidence. Emotional appeals calls on an audience's feelings, sympathies, rather than on facts, figures, and rational arguments. Next slide. Logical versus emotional. Next slide. Strategy 3. Reinforcing your position. Look back and see how you can strengthen your position. Examine your language. Can you find better or more powerful words to strengthen your position? Examine individual word choices, metaphors, and other figures of speech. Look for other factors that can reinforce your position. Next slide. Strategy 4. Anticipating objections. Poking holes in your own theories and ideas before your audience does. Finding solutions in the problems you have uncovered. You don't always have to discuss a potential objection. We should always present all sides of the story. I believe that this can help gain additional credibility if you present these options before presenting your recommendations or decisions. Avoiding common mistakes in persuasive communication. Using a hard shell. Nobody likes to feel pressured into making a decision. It's important just to not push. Resisting compromise. A process of give and take, especially in the case of persuasive business messages. And also relying solely on great arguments. Connect with your audience on the right emotional level by using vivid language. Next slide. Developing persuasive messages checklist. Have you had your reader's attention? Are you building your reader's interest? And are you increasing your reader's desire? Next slide. Developing persuasive messages checklist continued. Motivate your reader to take action. Balance emotional and logical appeals. Reinforce your position and anticipate objections. Next slide. Common examples of persuasive business messages. Requests for action, presentation of ideas, and claims for requests for adjustments. When requesting for action, the bulk of persuasive business messages will involve requests for action, direct versus indirect. Open with attention-getting device and show readers that you understand their concerns. Use the interest and the desire selections to demonstrate that you have a good reason for your request. Presentation of ideas. You may encounter a situation where you want to change your audience's attitudes or beliefs about a particular topic. And lastly, claims and requests for adjustments. Professionals and consumers sometimes encounter situations in which they feel they haven't received a fair deal of following normal procedures. Next slide. Developing marketing and sales messages. Marketing messages assure potential buyers through purchasing process without asking them to make an immediate decision. Sales messages take over at that point, encouraging potential buyers to make a purchase decision and then and there. Most marketing and sales messages are created and delivered by professionals with specific training in marketing, advertising, sales, or public relations. Better, efficient messages will help you become more of an effective manager. Next slide. Planning, marketing, and sales messages. Everything you've learned about planning messages applies in general in marketing and sales messages. They have some particular aspects to consider as well. Assessing audience's needs, analyzing your competition, determining key selling points and benefits, and anticipating purchase objections. Next slide. Writing conventional marketing and sales messages. Conventional marketing and sales messages are often prepared by using the AIDA model or some variation of it. Here are some key points of using this model for these messages. Getting the reader's attention, building interest, increasing desire, and motivation action. Next slide. Writing promotional messages for social media. Facilitate community building, giving customers and other audiences an opportunity to connect with you and one another, such as on your Facebook page or through members-only online forums. Listen at least as much as you talk. Listening is just as essential for online conversations as it is for in-person conversations. Initiate and respond to conversations within the community. Use conversation marketing to initiate and facilitate conversations in your network community. Next slide. Writing promotional messages for social media continued. Provide information people want. Identify and support your champions. Be real. Integrate conventional marketing and sales strategies at the right time and in the right places. Next slide. Promotional messages are displayed all over the social web, everywhere we turn. Next slide. Next, we talk about creating promotional messages for mobile devices. Mobile advertising and mobile commerce are two of the hottest developments in marketing communications. It's a multi-million-dollar business. They play a huge role in consumer buying behavior. They are short and simple and a lot of times reach people who are time constrained. Next slide. I just provided a couple of promotional messages on mobile devices, just a couple of examples. I know most of us receive these daily. Next slide. Maintaining high standards of ethics, legal compliance, and etiquette. Ethical business people view persuasion as a positive force, aligning their own interests with what's best for their audience. They influence audience members with providing information and understanding which allows the audience to choose. To maintain the highest standards of business ethics, always demonstrate the you attitude by showing the honest concern for your audience's needs and interests. Next slide, the you attitude. Establish a good, respectful relationship with your readers by addressing them directly. Writing in the active voice and using the second person, you, your, and yours, not just the first, I, me, mine, we, us, and ours. Try to empathize with your readers. Ask yourself, what do they want? What do they need? What do they need to know and what's in it for them? Don't just focus on your product, your service, or yourself. Just how your readers will benefit from complying with your message. Also, earn the respect of your readers by being courteous, tactful, and gracious. Next slide. Maintaining high standards of ethics, legal compliance, and etiquette continued. As marketing and selling grow increasingly complex, so do legal ramifications of marketing and sales messages. Federal agencies have authority over advertising in specific industries such as transportation and financial services. The legal aspects of promotional communication can be quite complex, varying from state to state and country to country. Next slide. Changing regulations. Communicators must stay on top of changing regulations such as the latest laws governing unsolicited bulk email such as spam, disclosure requirements for bloggers who review products, and privacy and data security. Next slide. Two ethical concerns that could produce new legislation. Behavioral targeting. Behavioral targeting tracks the online behavior of website visitors and serves up ads based on what they appear to be interested in. Marketing. Remarketing. Remarketing is when behavioral targeted ads follow users even as they move on to other websites. Many users feel that this practice is invasive. Next slide. Well, for all marketing and sales efforts, pay close attention to the following legal considerations. Being truthful. Marketing and sales messages must be truthful and non-deceptive. The statements must not mislead reasonable customers. The statements play a crucial role in purchasing process. Evidence. You must have scientific evidence to support your claims. For example, if your mediation provides lower cholesterol, you must have evidence to support that claim. Illegal advertising. Bait and switch is illegal. Trying to attract buyers by advertising for a product that you don't intend to sell, then trying to sell, is illegal. Next slide. For all marketing and sales efforts, pay close attention to the following legal considerations continue. Special rules. Online marketers must obtain consent from patients before collecting personal information if their child is under the age of 13. Binding contracts. If you imply or make an offer then cannot fulfill your end of the bargain, you can be sued for breach of contract. Permission. You cannot use a person's name, photograph, or other identity without permission. It's definitely an invasion of privacy. Next slide. Meeting ethical and legal obligations. Meeting ethical and legal obligations will go a long way in maintaining good communication etiquette. Taking an audience-centered approach in which you show respect and their values should help you in any such etiquette missteps. Next slide. And last but not least, technology demonstrating sensitivity. This gives communicators a new way to demonstrate sensitivity to their users' needs. Automated news feeds from blogs, alerting customers for information that they have showed interest to. Example, some messages are only sent to those people who have requested information. Alrighty, and the last slide, my question is, how do emotional appeals differ from logical appeals? Thank you guys so much for watching my presentation. Hope you guys enjoyed.